technical aspect, technical opportunity, perspective in our South America in general. Of course, you could touch a little bit Brazil, Equatorial Margem, Pelotas Basin, etc. It will be helpful for our professional here. You have people who have with experience also in onshore exploration in our panel. You could move for offshore or onshore. Okay? We start the first 15 minutes, 20 minutes with Karine from Surge. And she came here, and you stay here in the panel because it's better to follow her. And Karina, please, come with us. I will be the moderator, and later on I invite the panelists. Please. Karine.
Thank you. And thank you very much for the invite. I am very pleased to be here to share with you some views and just to set the scene, really, for the panel that will be very interesting because it will be dealing with a very important aspect of our industry, and that is exploration. So let's start by setting the scene. And South America is actually in the big news. CNN is talking about South America. And so it should be, because first of all, already, according to Brazil's Energy Statistical Yearbook in 2023, both Central and South America, so that's Latin America, held proven oil reserves of 333, the 0.1 is very important, billion barrels. And that's about nearly 20% of the global reserves. So South America plays a huge role in terms of reserves. And then when you look at the IEA's Latin America Energy Outlook, it says that Latin America or South America holds about 15% of the world's oil and gas resources. So it's definitely a good thing and a good indication that CNN is actually publishing this boom in South America. But I'm going to go back a little bit in history because it's in history where the lessons lie and where we can also see how we have come to be where we are. So first of all, let's go back to 1914, where a 44 billion barrel oil in place, clastics, Eocene to Miocene clastics, both on and offshore, it's the Bolivar Coastal Complex, was discovered in Venezuela. That took only 8 years to come on production. And this is similar to what we're doing nowadays. So that is quite a feat. So that is a huge accumulation. Then we go to 1976, where the offshore Miocene carbonate, it's a dim spot. Carbonates are quite tricky. La Perla was discovered. That's over 17 TCF. So discovered in 1976, and nearly 40 years to come on production. And then we had in Peru, so this is onshore. You can see how we're going onshore, offshore, carbonates, clastics. This is Permian, so quite old and Cretaceous clastics, the Camisea, 13.4 TCF field. Discovered in 1986, and then quite a few decades to come on production. And there you can see, I like that seismic example, because this is from Bilotti et al. 2000. You can see the seismic that was used, but there was a lot of onshore geology. So it's not just technology, but also geology, because these are old discoveries. They were somewhat supported by technology, but they were mostly supported by geology. And of course, now in Camisea, we have beautiful seismic. Something that the onshore geology could not have revealed is revealed by seismic. It's a subthrust play. And what we also have is we have seismic that is guiding us to the analogs. So I'm already presenting a lot of the key concepts that we are going to be discussing on exploration in South America. And then I don't need to introduce this to anybody because this is our star. And this is, of course, the chemogenic pre-salt carbonate over 5 billion barrels of oil in place 3P, yet to find maybe over 100 billion barrels. This is huge. And this is, of course, now supported very much by the latest technology. We are talking by sparse OBN, which is then is helping us do the FWI, the long offset, reprocess the seismic data, a lot of inversion. The highest end technology is being applied here. Oh, and that only took 3 years to come on production. And then we have Vaca Muerta. Again, another big discovery. I mean, there is a big history behind Vaca Muerta, but it really does start in 2010, 3 years to come on production. And now you can see there from the seismic that you can take that same play north into Mendoza, where you will have fractured Vaca Muerta. Naturally fractured carbonates are a pleasure to work with, as I had the pleasure of working with the second biggest Cantarell oil field offshore Mexico. Fractured carbonates are beautiful to work with. And then we move up to a place, again, that does not need any introduction, and that's Guyana. 2015 discovery, 2019 put on production. That was a Lisa discovery. Then we have 2025 equatorial margins. Amapá is being drilled at the moment, so that's exciting. And from the CNN news, Pelotas Basin was mentioned by CNN. This is just a great, well, I think it's a great achievement. It's very exciting. And I've got lots of exclamation marks because we don't exactly know when we will get the first exploration well, but it should be soon. So where are the unexplored basins in the world? There you can see a very simplified cartoon of two passive margins, conjugate margins. We have the African side and we have the South American side. And it's a very simple portrayal of what we are seeing in these basins. They're passive margins. And what you can see is we're going from the shelf into the slope where we have the thick sedimentary section. We move away from this thick sedimentary section into a thinner sedimentary section. We get back into the oil window. So we're going oil, gas, oil. And this is something that I will show one of the basins that proved that this is actually working. And then you'll see at the base, unoceanic crust. We have source rock. We have now proven we have source rock and oceanic crust. And above this, the best part, we have basin floor fans, huge basin floor fans that are being trapped by that counter-regional dipping geometry. This is where the huge potential, huge accumulations are being discovered. This is out in deep water. And what you see there is a map where the dark colors are showing you the thickest sedimentary section. It's a model put together by NOAA, but it's a pretty good model of where the thick sedimentary sections lie. And you can see that we have a lot of thick sediment, a lot of those where we already have a lot of production, where we have discoveries and production, a lot of those where we're still yet to find all the accumulations. And there you can see, again, what we have explored and haven't explored in terms of if we describe volcanic margins versus avolcanic margins, non-volcanic margins, and you can see there where we have explored, where the wells have gone up to. Then we have the unexplored, and then we have the underexplored in South America. So a lot to explore out in the deep water. So we have drilled mostly the upper slope with mixed success. For example, in Zadius in French Guiana, that was in the upper slope. So why should we go to the lower slope and basin floor? So there you see a couple of charts. The one on the left is from Colin Grant, who used to work at Shell, 2013, and he published this chance of success of the different plate types versus the resources that you might find in this place. So the slope channel prospects, like what we have in Ghana, in the, oh, I've just forgotten the name, but anyways, where we have in Ghana, the big discovery there, we have the slope channel that will be a chance of 1 in 10, with about 100 million barrels. So, you know, a reasonable play, but a lot of failures because it's quite hard to trap hydrocarbons there. They will go up to the shelf if you have connection with the channels. Instead of that, look at the apron fan. Look at the basin floor fan. Chance of success, 1 in 3. 1 billion barrels is the average that you will find. And this is exactly what we are finding. So it was very visionary of Shell at the time to see that that was the play to target. And we are now proving that that is the play to target. And are we really reaching the boundaries of deep water? Well, here's a chart showing how we have progressed going out into deeper and deeper water. Aren't you surprised to see that in the 1980s, there are a couple of DSDP wells that drilled in 4,500 meters of water, the DSDP 367. So really, we are not, I mean, we've had wells drilled there from the 1980s, but yeah, in terms of the exploration wells, we're going up and up and up, And if the Komodo well gets drilled in 2025, that will be in 3,900 meters water depth. So it's not really out of reach. We can get there. So looking at the thick sedimentary sections, you can see there I'm pointing to the first basin that we're going to look at as we do this tour in South America. This is Sergipe. Look at the map. There were no exploration wells before 2012. And yet, you can see, I don't know if we have a laser pointer. Maybe we don't. Oh, OK, we don't. You can see the oil fields in green. So there were a lot of reasons why Sergipe was kind of late coming. But you can see we went out from the gas, out into the oil. It was over oceanic crust. It was quite thin sediment. So it was believed that, oh, no, it's going to be too cold. And a lot of companies shied away from it. But Petrobras, using seismic data, believing what they saw on the seismic data, and being quite bold, they went for it, and they discovered this multi-billion barrel, Barra, Moita Bonita, which is now being put into development. So what did we learn from this Sergipe drilling? Well, we learned that we have higher geothermal gradients than we modeled. So this Mackenzie model should be questioned. We should always be questioning our models, especially if the data is telling us something different. And the other very interesting thing is this is what started telling us that we had to consider conturite currents because we're out in the deep water, and we hadn't up to that point really come across them. Conturite currents have a great effect. They will clean out your reservoir, and they will give you better reservoir quality. So in terms of this basin, well, the future is it's already being developed. It's over 3 billion barrels. And there are really nice QI attributes. This was published by AMP. And I think they will contribute to us being to exploration in the future. So that's Sergipe. Let's move up into a very well-known area, which is Guyana. Before 2015, what you see there was nothing there. There were no wells there. And now we have in Guyana an 18 to 19 billion barrel in place resources. And in Suriname, already discovered 4.6 billion barrels. And Statoil claim that yet to find is 30 billion barrels of oil. What were the paradigms here? During COVID, when we had all these webinars, there was a webinar where Exxon presented, and I remember so clearly because it was very shocking for me to hear that they had a data room where they had 18 companies attending. Only 3, and they weren't major oil companies, believed and joined Exxon in their feet. And one major oil company left and did not believe in this. What was wrong with this basin? It was the plate tectonic model. The plate tectonic model said there is no source rock here. This Cretaceous prolific source rock is not here because this is a young oceanic crust. So we cannot have Cretaceous source rock. Well, they modeled that it was Jurassic oceanic crust, and there it was. And Exxon management, even though they didn't want to drill it, they said, well, you know, because we want to be part of this. If we don't drill it, we're going to be out of this. So we want to drill it because it's big, and we want to be part of this. So that was, again, quite bold. And there had been no wells, really, that had shown this potential. But there were anomalies. Is there something? Can you see a pattern building here? There were very compelling anomalies on the seismic data. Uncalibrated AVO anomalies. So uncalibrated that when they drilled Skipjack after Lisa, that was not a success. But then they went back and realized that the devil is in the detail. They did very detailed AVO work, and they have some of the highest success rates in the world for exploration. And now it's about a matter of analog hunting. Oh, sorry, there was another big caveat. These were stratigraphic traps. Stratigraphic traps were known to be very, very risky. But look at the reward. And what you see at the bottom there, that seismic, comes from deep water Suriname. If you've ever seen seismic over Lisa and you've seen the mass transport complexes and then the channels below the mass transport complexes, well, that looks just like a Lisa. So we've got to look for analogs. But now bear in mind, mass transport complexes. So I have mentioned 2 key points, conturites and mass transport complexes. How they impact the petroleum system is what we are learning as we embark on this journey. I've got to take you to the other side. I'm sorry, I know this is about South America, but I've got to take you over to the other side because there is learning in a conjugate margin. So we have the discoveries from the Orange Basin, which, as we know, we have from some 3D data that we have acquired in the area, about 20,000 square kilometers. You see there an arbitrary line going from the inboard to the outboard. And you see around the yellow dashed polygon, that is the outboard deep water Venus play. Venus, 5 billion barrels of oil in the race to being developed. White horizon, white event, white strong event, that is the Aptian source rock. You can see it outboard, and when you go to the inboard, now let's go inboard where the Mopane 10 billion barrel discovery was made, you see this booming white reflector. That is the Aptian source rock. It is present, it is thick enough, it is generating hydrocarbons, and it is world-class. And it's generating hydrocarbons both inboard and outboard, and the seismic is screaming at us. It was always screaming at us that it was there. We just didn't want to believe it. We didn't want to believe it. Why? Because it's a volcanic margin. Because it's not possible to have source rocks on oceanic crust, because it's too cold on oceanic crust and it's too thin out here, because reservoirs are going to travel 300 kilometers? No, that's just not possible. They're going to be poor quality. And look at that, it's so flat. There's no structures out here. And it's too deep water. We can't drill here. Can you see all the things that were stopping us from going there? So it took a lot of boldness from a couple of companies, Total Energies, Shell, and then Galp. It took a lot of courage and a lot of boldness for them to test this place. But you can see that this is where the huge potential lies. So what did we learn? Why did Total go here? I'm going to say something that I've been saying. There were anomalies, AVO response in these huge anomalies. They were depth conformant, and there were oil seeps right above what was the Venus prospect. This is what led Total to believe that there was something big here. And yes, they found it. So what lessons do we have? There are world-class source rocks, Aptian source rock, inboard and outboard of the Utter High. You do find source rocks on oceanic crust. They are thick enough, and they can be world-class. So the future here, in the Orange Basin at least, is a race to develop these discoveries, now that Capricornus has also been found by Rhino. So we'll watch that race closely, and in the meantime, we'll try, well, first of all, I'm going to show you some of these, because there are some very key points here on the technology. And I know I'm focusing very much on seismic technology, but I think that is the key technology that we use these days. What did we find? We found that wide tow, which is operationally more efficient and faster, works. So you can have 150-meter separation in your streamer, and you will get excellent quality data. Multi-component streamer has also been used in some of those surveys, and it's giving beautiful results. It's more complicated in the Orange Basin than on this side of the Mice. One thing I have to say, fast-track data. Now, Shearwater produced some of the best fast-track data I have ever seen in my life. When I received it, I thought, what? Fast-track data? So we interpreted this fast-track data a few weeks only after acquisition, and we spot and identify, map these anomalies. We think, okay, the operator of the block is doing exactly the same thing. They've identified the anomalies. They put together an exploration, appraisal, and development plan based on these anomalies, and they just wait for the final data. When the final PSDM data arrives, it confirms the anomalies, but they've already got the whole plan in place, and that has helped speed up and shorten the exploration cycle. This is what Rhino is doing, and they may be the first ones to develop a small independent oil company, just pushing the limits, but working with fast-track data. So I have to tell you about the ultra-far angle as well, and I know that you're probably all working here with seismic data will have come across this. A lot of these anomalies, a lot of these accumulations are AVO type 2 anomalies. So we didn't really work with these AVO type 2 anomalies because we couldn't get to the ultra-far angles. Now that we're getting these ultra-far angles, Look at Capricornus there. So Capricornus is the top, the top two seismic lines. One is the full stack, where the white polygon is and where the yellow polygon is. Would you drill that if I just gave you that seismic line? Would you even think there was an accumulation there? You'd probably walk away. Look at the blue, that blue response. That's a far minus near times far. The ultra-far angle is bringing out the amplitudes. They're booming. And that is 11,000 barrels of oil per day, 41-degree API oil flowing. That will probably be the first field to be developed. And what you see below is a Venus analog. You see this huge basin floor fans down in the south, where I've written 3 billion barrels of oil recoverable. Beautiful AVO type 3 anomalies. So you get both. But these AVO type 2 anomalies are really, really important, really key. So to find this play, we believe that you follow the Aptian source rock. You've seen how prolific it is. So what you see on there, the green polygons are where we have Aptian source rock with over 2.5 kilometers of sediment and less than 4,000 meters of water. So really key areas to tackle. Zoom in, and you'll see northern margins, a nice polygon there. That's where the Amapa well is being drilled. And then go to the other side. That's where we have Pelotas and Argentina. So yes, we're now in the Pelotas Basin, where we have acquired 3D data, where a lot of acreage has been awarded, where we have a thick sedimentary section, where we see the Aptian source rock, where we are seeing beautiful response from the seismic. And that is a speleoscan image that I received this morning, because we have just partnered up with, in collaboration with Paleoscan, and I received that this morning. Look at those beautiful basin floor fans coming into the basin, and they have excellent and very bright and very clear AVO anomalies. So this seismic data is revealing huge potential. And
experienced professional team and can really working here. And this is something fundamentally BGP for the last, I think, 15 years. We really benefit running business in Brazil. And we run the operation in Amazon jungle. We did encounter several big problems about the preloading dynamite, also the local content, all the issue. But the ANP, also the Brazil, the team going to on-site, they understand the difficulties. They work with the BGP, find a practical way to move the business forward. I think this is something you cannot expect to work in other countries. Like in Mexico, you never can get your payment back. That's something we pull out from that region. Okay. I think for the last one is how to say, because this agency, the government agency, also the regulator, they create the best business environment that the BGP can continue build the local capacity. I can see the Brazil really top quality for local talent. For BGP for the last 10 years, we really recruited several top talent staff to join BGP. I think support BGP business in Middle East, also in the Shell Brunei for environmental protection, also the community engagement. This is something I think we, as a seismic company, we really like to see to work in this environmental. I think if you put the technology, also plus the regulator or institution, government agency, plus the collaboration, this is something can really help the exploration success. And we do benefit and enjoy working in Brazil. I think that's all from BGP as an onshore operator. Even our business only work in several countries compared with offshore. I think offshore is a bigger sport, also hot topic. I give it to Chris. Offshore is
I'll take Fred.
Yeah, so good afternoon, everyone. We're back on mic, so yes. To address I'm here as the president of ABGP, right? And I have, of course, a lot of people here know that I had a most of my career spent working the onshore in Brazil in exploration. And what I did in my previous life, and I think was we challenged the ways of doing things. And that I think the last 10 or putting maybe 20 years ago is, can we use the same technology but in a different way? So what the team did in the Parnaíba Basin, which was the ugly duck, o patinho feio, from all the Paleozoic basins, now, I think the current operator, they acquired around 35,000 kilometers of 2D. I was in the team that was responsible for the largest seismic onshore surveys in the country, and that was year after year in the ANP exploration report. And there was not one single campaign that would test the parameters, right? I started my career in Petrobras in Urucu, where they were shooting seismic using 5 meters holes, 3 5-meter holes with 3 kilos, 5 kilos. So we're talking about almost 15 kilos of dynamite per pointing shot, per shooting point, right? During all those 20 years, we keep testing and testing less dynamite, less mass, less shooting points, shallower holes. So we end up doing a lot of tests with BGP. We did a really good acquisition in the Parnaíba Basin in the previous company I was working for, when you use 60 grams to test it. So we went from 15 kilos to 60 grams of mass. And that ended up becoming a patent. We have I'm part of the patent, so you can say that I have the patent with the team of Harmony, which we alternate mass in a 2D campaign. So we're not about developing new sensors or new processing ways, but we're using the same technology in a different way. So that brought a lot of improvements in the seismic imaging. And that helped, of course, the geologists to build better models, to confirm the concepts. So sometimes we talk about innovation and I'm talking about unleashing new plays, but sometimes there's this way of doing things different that could result in a better outcome. The same thing that I think it was a major breakthrough from the last 10 years was reprocessing legacy data. So I can say Paraná Basin is a big example of that, on the onshore, right? We're focusing on the onshore. So there was this kind of urban legend that, oh, you cannot image below the basalt. You cannot image below the basalt. And that became a truth without taking the data and reprocessing it. So when you see reprocessed seismic data from the Paraná Basin, you can see everything below the basalt. Because now the processing technology improved so much. So not to go too long on my first talk here, I think the two major breakthroughs was improving the way of acquiring seismic, not talking about new technology, but using the existing technology in a different way, in a smarter way, in a more efficient way, even in a more sustainable way, because you're using less material and people are carrying less weight, so you have multiple benefits on that aspect. And also taking a look in older data and reprocess that with newer technology. That can really, really bring you amazing outcome. And that works, that could be a great tool for several independent companies who acquired Petrobras assets in the big divestment campaign in the onshore. So now it's something that they could look at it. There's tons of 3D, tons that deserve to be reprocessed, another glance, another fresh eyes look into that data. And of course, to expand the frontier basins, that Brazil has a massive area of frontier basins still to be explored.
Okay. Marina, contigo. Right now in Marina, like geologist before, but regulator, ANP, is still. But to think about geology and not only regulated side, because she loved geology also. What you see, Marina, in the last 10 years, 20 years, you fall not only to offer the blocks, offer the area, try to promote. Of course, this is class one, but of course, ANP studied a lot technical side to promote, to present, to say how you see the evolution of data material you have when you make this study to select, to offer for the clients new blocks, new opportunity the last 10, 20 years, please.
Thank you. First of all, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, Paulo, for the invitation to be here today. It's a great pleasure. Oops. Sorry Sorry about that.
Okay.
So talking about this question, looking back, how did we get here, and focusing on the regulatory evolution, I think I could highlight three main aspects that got us here in South America. And when I say here, here is a lot, because South America is a hotspot. Brazil, it's the 8th main producer of oil in the world, maybe the 7th, as Frederico said this morning. Venezuela has maybe the greatest reserve in the world. Of course, it has its challenges to be developed, but even so, it is a great achievement. We have Argentina developing the shale gas and making it a reality in South America, which is huge as well. We have the discoveries in Guyana, and of course, we have the pre-salt in Brazil. And we'll talk about the future. We won't stop in the pre-salt, but how did we got here? So maybe I could highlight three main aspects for us to get here. These great discoveries, our continent is blessed in our geology. We have a diversity of environments and landscapes and geological attractiveness, and this could work for a high diversity of companies, those that work onshore, those that work offshore, the ones that are more prone to risk, the ones that are more prone to security. So in our continent, we have opportunities for every kind of company. And also, this has to be combined with the evolution of the regulatory backbone, right? We cannot stop at time, because if we do, we may stop the market to develop. So the regulation must evolve along with the evolution of the exploration and the production. And also, of course, the development of disruptive technology. All of this come together, and supporting this, we have people, right? So we have brilliant people working in the most different companies and assessing all of this potential in South America. So specifically, as Paulo asked us, in ANP, how this have been evolving in the last 2 decades. We had the opening of the market 25 years ago, and then we went from the monopoly of Petrobras, and then we had foreign companies coming to Brazil. And not only that, now we have other Brazilian companies working in Brazil, exploring and producing in Brazil. Not only onshore basins, but also in offshore basins. We have a very diverse landscape of companies working here, and that's very good for the market. That's very important for the competitiveness and for the development of a healthy market for exploration and production in Brazil. And in ANP, we have the bidding rounds, and they have been transforming over the years. So we used to have the classic bidding rounds in which the government decided when they were going to happen and which blocks were going to be available. And today, what we have is a different format, which is the open acreage, in which we have the most blocks that we can up for offer, and then the market decides when this bid round is going to happen and where those blocks are going to be once they are available for the companies to start this process. So we have been evolving over these years, and the logic of the process has changed, and it has been working really fine. We just had great results this year. We had the 5th bidding round for the concession open acreage. We had over almost $1 billion in signature bonuses, and over $1 billion in prediction of exploration activities, investments in those blocks. We had 35 blocks awarded. Most of them, 19 of them, were in Foz Amazonas Basin, showing the potential of this new frontier. We had 9 companies that were winner of those blocks. And also we had the 3rd cycle of the PSA this October, and it was also a huge success. We had 5 blocks awarded. We have expanded our exploration area in the pre-salt polygon, in the pre-salt contracts in 50%, so that's a lot. And we keep on working for more bidding rounds. But as Paulo said, the participation of ANP has evolved as well in all those years. So we have been prepared our team has studied a lot and has evolved a lot. And right at this point, we have Hilderson right here, which is from the Superintendency of Geological and Economic Evaluation. And those guys, they are really prepared to study all the seismic lines that we have in Brazil and to assess all the opportunities that we have in order to evaluate those areas to put them up for the bidding round. So they have very great work, and also the part of the government has changed a lot in those years. We had sometimes that the government was investing in acquiring data, and we had this for several years, but now the strategy has changed a little bit, so the government is relying on the investments of the companies to acquire those data, but it could change in the future again. So this is something that it's a strategy of a government, and we could have, again, Brazil deciding to acquire data in order to understand more some particular area that the private investment it's not reaching. So that's something that the government is always looking up to understand if we are having the best assessment that we can in our area. So this comes back to the data that we have available. So ANP has been a huge part of that in order to acquire data in onshore basins, especially new frontier onshore basins. We do not do that anymore, but we do interpret those data and try to put the best blocks up for offer, and as soon as possible. So we work hard because we understand that we need to put those blocks available for the companies. So that's something that we have been doing a lot to get here where we are right now.
Okay. Thank you, Marina. To Christian, I take advantage you are here, represent a big offshore company with technology, and the first question to make the history came to here. A question in terms of a context. In 2016, in the world, you have average 60 vessels, marine vessels, to cover exploratory areas in the world. 60, 60, worldwide. Right now, if I'm up to date, you have 12, 14, 15 vessels. The worldwide exploration, marine opportunity change the last 10 years. How your vision about that?
Let's see if it works here. Can you hear me in the back? People say that I'm always speaking too loud, so I thought this was my moment to shine where we had no microphone, but now we get the sound back again. Anyway, great question. We've seen, obviously, as you referred to back in probably 15, I think we peaked in early 15. I think we had 65 vessels at the time, 63 of them were active. And last time I checked this week, we were 9 vessels, so not even 12 or 14, but 9 vessels. We acquired, through the acquisition of PGS, we acquired 7 vessels, so actually more than 7, but we stacked a few and sold a few, and now we're back to 7, of which 6 are active. So it's been a massive change. And I think that change is kind of a good way to look at how naive the world have been in terms of the energy transition. There is no need for more exploration. You know, we have what we need, all that kind of stuff. And it may sound kind of silly when we talk about it today, but I mean, in June 2021, IEA published a report where they said that there is no more need for exploration. We have all the oil and gas that we need. We're going towards a green future. Rystad Energy, I'm sure a lot of you guys subscribe to these expensive reports from Rystad Energy. In 2021, Rystad said that peak oil would be this year. I think we all agree that we're not even close to peak oil, because IEA, who said back in 2021 that there was no more need for exploration, just came out last Tuesday with a report saying that, guess what, peak oil is going to be 2050 or later. So we've been massively wrong in our predictions. And the problem is that our clients have also been massively wrong in terms of their strategies. So what they did back in 2020 is that they sharply reduced exploration. They cut it in half for most people. I think exploration from 2016 to 2024 was down by more than 70%. 7-0. That was the drop that we saw in exploration. And as a result, obviously, we as a seismic sector, the drilling sector, and most other sectors had to adapt to that. And that's back to your original question. So as a result, the number of seismic vessels went from 65 to 8 or 9, or potentially up to 14 if we bring them all back again. But that's where we are today. So going forward, if this is going to continue, so obviously sooner or later, some of these super majors will have to go back to exploration. And I'm not necessarily blaming the super majors. This goes with all the E&P companies and not only super majors. But let's take the super majors first. So a company like Equinor has a remaining reserve life of 6 years. That's 6 years, that's 2031. Unless they find more and they continue to produce as much as they do today, and I'm sure there are people from Equinor in the room, you're going to run out of oil and gas in 2031. Shell, 2033. Petrobras longer than that, and Exxon has the longest reserve life of everyone with 13 or 14 years. That's the longest reserve life of every super major. So something has to, obviously, people need to go back to exploration. We need to get the smaller and medium-sized companies back again as well. And what's going to happen then is that you're not going to have enough drilling rigs, or you're not going to have enough seismic vessels, or you're not going to have enough OBN crews to serve that need. So we are in kind of a negative spiral in that regard, and this industry that I represent has not been particularly healthy since 2020. It will become more healthy because people are going back to exploration, but eventually that's going to turn into a challenge where we don't have enough assets to serve this need for increased exploration. So a rather long explanation to why we're down to 8 or 9 vessels versus 65, but it's just a matter of a big change in exploration spending, dropping as much as 72% from 2016 to 24. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Right now, we move for more present days, 2026. Was very clear this morning. The microphone works. What very clear this morning in a lot of companies, not only Petrobras, like you said, Equinor with a 6-year forecast in terms of reserves and replacement. A lot of companies, maybe not easy like Shell did in Brazil, bought BG and have a huge reserves if you buy some company. But if you not have cash flow to buy companies, to buy reserves, you need to discover, you need to explore. And the forecasts show, most of charts, it's not more the discussion of the peak of production or peak of demand. The discussion right now is the decline of production. It's clear, all chart. In the number of years is less than the numbers of years you need after discover something and transform in 1P reserves to produce and make money. It means you have some trouble. 2006, if you discover something, you'll be 1P reserves in average 2032, 2033. And all operator maybe will be in decline phase except 1 or 2. This is the reality next year. This is the context. Okay? I start with John Newton, it's provocation, my friend, my colleague.
I'm not worried, but I'm so happy that you can produce in 6 years when we have discovery here in 32, we already have production. Very good, guy. I think that we expand more than this, but if you
send him to the projects department.
Yeah, thank you. But as you're talking about now, we expend sometimes. Imagine that the oil, there will be not more necessary. And in this period, we decrease the investment in exploration and acquisition in product. And what occurs? We are wrong about this. We will need the oil or petroleum in a long period. Then we can run so much now to try to substitute the delay that you have now. in the exploration time, in the areas and the portfolio, because as Petrobras is doing trying to do now is to invest, to obtain more, increase the portfolio, to have chance to have a choice that the area will be possible to drill. We're trying so hard to try to obtain more acreage, to have more exploration. Certainly, will be necessary more acquisition. And we will compete with all the companies that have the same dream before that the oil will not more necessary in the future, but certainly we have. As I said, Julio, before, here in parallel conversation, we are so bad guys. We are so bad guys because we produce these things that everybody need every day. Just this. But some time ago, everybody imagined, not everybody, some majority people imagine that the oil will be not necessary in the future of the world because you have other opportunities to produce energy. We can produce energy, but not the molecule. It will be necessary to have a petroleum to produce, and not just in the energy as a full, but with the petrochemical, everything that you imagine to use without the vegetables or animals products. All the other things depends of the not just oil, but the geology and geophysicists, because you need the metal, you need the plastic, you need everything. But come back to the main point. We need to invest hard now to take out the period that you have the delay. Imagine that our future was so black, but it will be black because the oil is black. But it's so black because you don't use the oil. We have a time that in my point of view, you are losing, imagine that the future we will have without oil. Then we take out the investment of exploration and acquisition and everything that this time is over. The time is over, and now you need to run hardly to invest more to try to support now the future. As Sylvia showed to us, the pre-salt produce so much, but when we start to decline, we decline so fast. How you would substitute this? If you have a discovery, we have a graphic that shows the number of exploration well that you drilling along the years, and this time since 16 to today is the last number of wells. If you compare with any time that the period of Petrobras exists. And imagine how you would discover there's something that support the production of pre-salt that you have now without the exploration wells, without the areas, the acreage, to trying to find the areas to support this future production. How you have the same capacity or opportunity to have the reservoir quite similar of pre-salt. Sylvia showed to us too that you have a rig that produced 270,000 barrels per day with 6 wells. We need to find something to discover, to put the production in less than 10 years. I hope that Paulo support us, and that's because he has a capacity to produce in 6 years. The discovery that you have now to close the declining with this curve. Then I think that now, at this time, we need not just Petrobras. I think other company that has the same knowledge before, the same thing before, that it will be necessary to run fast, to try to have not the same declining curve of production in the next future. Okay.
Lúcio, not to be deep in technical side, but you are a geologist, and geologists you should provoke to be the geologist. Karine was kind with us when
geologist.
making the provocation, and not bring only the beautiful and exploration opportunity, but you have, in some areas, you have some issues. Example, Namibia, in some place or shall try to develop some field. For us in Brazil, it's very important. Why? Because it is conjugate marsh. You need to associate the geoscience, the geology for Namibia to Pelotas Basin, Colorado Basin in Argentina, etc. Could you share with us a little bit in geological side how, not in detail, but this kind of issue could discover or could face in sedimentary base like Orange Basin in Namibia for the future forecast for Pelotas and Colorado Basin?
Colorado Basin. All right. So
Go ahead.
before Colorado, so maybe a few points on this subject, and I think one, we all agree that we will need oil and gas for longer, and two, that because of decisions which were made in the recent past, we have a deficit in terms of investments required to sustain the current production in the long run. No? So that's one side, and I think we would all agree, and you can argue, yes, I will need, why this. The other side of the spectrum is that the reality is that regulators and society does not allow us to continue to do the things that we did in the past. You cannot tolerate, I don't think society will tolerate a dry hole tolerance of 15, 20, I need 30 wells in a basin to open a production in an area. And so that's a fact as well. So right now, I think we are as an industry in a time that we really need to evolve and to work. Two things from my perspective, and one is linked to your question, is about the collaboration and learning from other areas. For me, that is critical, because the reality is you will not be able to drill 10, 15 wells before you open a play. So you have to use everything that you have to be able to, with less shots on goal, to have a goal. Because the situation that we are living today. So how do we do it? Three ways. One is, and we touched the same way that technology brought us here, would be probably the technology and the geophysical and the image and how we are evolving will take us to the future. And hopefully by the combination of new seismic acquisition, processing, interpretation, and maybe AI, that will bring us that new edge, that then I can not only drill or discover things, but I can actually accelerate my cycle time. The second one is about collaboration. I think that is, if you look at the past 20 years and how much we improved as an industry on the collaboration aspects of our business, I think we have to do more. It's collaboration between the companies, collaboration with the regulator, and I think here I can say on behalf of Shell how much we have a good collaboration with ANP and how much open ANP is, and Mariana mentioned earlier on the involvement and the improvements of the regulatory time. And it is the collaboration with our vendors and services and be able to reach common interests and things that will be enablers for us to do things faster. It is the collaboration with society. I think there is an element that all of us, we are not very good on communication. Because the reality is what seems obvious in this room is not obvious out there. And I think we have to do a better job on communicating on the importance of our industry, on the importance of how energy and the oil and gas helps to develop societies, because actually there is a direct correlation between energy consumption to the wealth. And so I think all of those things will have to go hand in hand from now to be able to continue to work and hopefully continue to sustain this business for the long run, which is actually needed not only for Brazil, but I think we can extrapolate the problems of Brazil to the whole globe.
Thank you. Marina, vou mudar para você. Start to move little bit in direction of the end in terms of forecast and perspective of our exploration in South America. I think ANP, Marina, you always try, ANP, to study deeper the area, to understand the opportunity, and to offer and to promote for the future. Technology company, operate company comes and try to take advantage. And you see, Jonilton said, I need more acreage. I need to drill more exploratory wells. How you could offer for these guys?
Okay, great question, Paulo. We are working a lot in order to offer new areas all the time. So we had today a meeting of our board of directors that had just approved our republication of our tender protocol, including 275 new blocks, as well as 5 brown fields in our tender protocol. So we do have more opportunities for the companies, and a new cycle can be open at any time as soon as this tender protocol is published within those blocks that are available. But we do not stop there. We also have 1,000 and more than 1,400 blocks that we call that it's under study right now, which means that ANP has already approved the block, but we still have to wait for the environmental guidelines in order to put them in the tender protocol. As soon as we have that, we are going to republish this tender protocol again, because it is a cycle. It is always a cycle. We put more blocks and we have bid rounds, and we put more blocks and we have bid rounds, and that's how it's supposed to work. So we are crossing our fingers that we get those environmental guidelines as soon as possible in order to put more blocks. So we have 275 in new blocks to be added in the tender protocol. With those new blocks, the tender protocol will have 451 blocks available for offer in a future bidding round. But we are still expecting more than 1,000 blocks to be included as well. And in the PSA, we are starting the process of republishing the tender protocol, including 2 new blocks that we already have the environmental guidelines, which are Cruzeiro do Sul and Mogno. Mogno, we had to wait for the CNP to establish the rules because it was beyond the 209 nautic miles. So we had to wait for the rules to be established. We have this already. So we are working on including this block along with Cruzeiro do Sul in the tender protocol. Mogno is a great block. We have flat spots. I always say that because it's amazing. Yudasong team showed us in the seminar that they gave in last May, and we are expecting a lot of those new blocks. Not only Mogno, but we also have 16 blocks waiting for the environmental guidelines. So we are working a lot on that, and also we are working on a workshop in order to discuss with the companies that acquire seismic, that acquire other geophysical data, and also the operators in order to make our working unit equivalence better. We already understood that we have to improve that in order to make it more coherent with new technologies and new kinds of acquisitions that we have nowadays. So we are working on this gathering with you guys. You will be invited pretty soon. In the beginning of the next year, we are going to discuss that and make the tender protocol even better.
Okay, thank you. Right now, for both company, technology company, I recap one interesting thing in terms of offshore. We are proud in Brazil to say Brazil, Petrobras, always was early adopter of the new technology. When ExxonMobil developed 3D acquisition, 2 lines, cross line, shot and receiver line, 1972, Brazil in Cherny Field acquired with GSI the first 3D with 1 cable behind. And all geophysicists at that time say, guys, 1 cable behind to cover the field is no way with 3D technology. No way with 3D technology. And in the beginning, 3D technology was only for production, not for exploration. PGS, the company today belongs TGS, when developed the technology for multi-cable, multi-streamer, changed the game. And 3D became not only production, reservoir characterization, reservoir monitoring, but for exploration purpose, okay? With this introduction for both of you, the question is, okay, Brazil in the past was early adopter for technology. Today we see in Gulf of Mexico or Gulf of America, North Sea, a lot of exploratory nodes, for example. There, 90% of the base is already covered with full azimuth data. Brazil is 10, 15% of discovery with full azimuth data. Which kind of technology for exploration purpose for the future we missing in South America, in particular in Brazil? Do you think something you should invest more than up to now you already invest?
Okay, I can share some business case like we work in the Middle East. It seems every 10 years with a new technology or new equipment, like ADNOC or Saudi Aramco or KOC or Qatar Energy, they just reshoot the seismic. I think 10 years ago, we shoot most of OBC cable, dual sensor. And start from last 4 years, we shoot a big OBN data for ADNOC. It's almost, we shoot the whole offshore for ADNOC. It's about 40,000 square kilometer. It's a big OBN. It dramatically, fundamentally changed the subsurface idea. I think the ENI and ADNOC make a very good, successful discovery. Same in, I think in Aramco, we are just finished the program. It's supposed to 3 years. We put more than 70,000 nodes, 3 crews, shoot parallel, who offshore of, we call Arab Gulf. So I think the totally changed the story. Every 10 to 8 years, but I think in Brazil, we can see currently the deep water side. The ocean bottom node is only focused on the production field, brown field. I think in the future, a streamer is a good, with a long offsite, but the node is the future, definitely for offshore Brazil. How the TGS and the BGP work, collaborate with the manufacturer, with the operator, bring down the cost. If we can use the deep water node to bring down the cost, currently for development, the oil field is too expensive. If we can bring down the cost, use all the exploration, this will be another game changer. Same like in the Gulf, Middle East, because we use the big spread node and shoot simultaneously, and I think it reduce the cost for the operation 50%. I think before the per square is around $200,000 per square, but the BGP will bring down the cost around $120,000 per square. I think it reduces more than 40% of the cost. That really encourages the oil company. They apply for this new technology. I think same right now in the Amazon jungle, we work for Innova, we use cable. We encounter a lot of problems. I think thanks for the AMP, Petrobras, and also the Innova support, we change it to node. I think the node production almost 3 times compared with before. And with the node quality, and also the high efficiency, and reduce the HSE risk hazard. And also, I think they reduce the manpower and bring down the cost. I think the node is the future. Definitely, this has to be collaboration, because we found that we acquire the data, but we need the experienced company to processing the data. If the local company used to processing the cable data, but the node data is different. And you can, different long offsite, and you need a big computing power, and really fast, processing can really shorten the cycling. This is something create a value for the oil industry. I do believe we like to work together, like we work with the TGS in Suriname. We we collaborated together. We shoot the whole offshore for Suriname. And then finally, I think the last year, there's a Shell to tell Chevron and even CNPC did buy the data. They are very happy because this reduces the oil company risk and we give the best data quality. I think that's all I can share. I do believe the future will be node, and also need a bigger computing power to processing data more quicker, cheaper. That's all from me.
Thank you. Please, Chris.
Thank you. And I also want to touch on the fiscal policies, because I think it's a question for all of you guys. I mean, there are 2 countries in the world who have a totally unique fiscal policy that stimulates exploration and R&D spending. Anybody who wants to, I can ask you, you probably know, right? The 2 countries played together in the World Cup football in 1998.
1998. French?
No.
No.
It was Norway and Brazil. And do you
Norway
remember
and
the
Brazil.
score? Do anyone remember the score, by the way? It was Norway 2, Brazil 1. But okay, that is a complete sidetrack of what I was going to answer. But it has to do with the fiscal policies. And the fiscal policy in those 2 countries are quite unique in terms of Norway has these kind of exploration, so you don't pay, you get to write off 72% of your exploration cost, and then you pay that as taxes from production revenues. So you stimulate exploration in a big scale, which has been very, very successful in the North Sea. In Brazil, you have that 1% mandatory tax that goes to R&D, which is fantastic. And I think we, definitely at TGS now, we see a lot of technology development actually shifting from the US Gulf of America to Brazil. We just signed an agreement this morning with Sylvia at Petrobras, where we're going to really try to help Petrobras cut the cycle time for processing, where we set some very hairy targets and goals in terms of how we can process data quicker and obviously using more compute and using compute more efficiently than we've done in the past. We're also testing out new acquisition technologies, and Brazil has now become the new testing ground for a lot of both acquisition and imaging technologies, which is great to see. But it starts with the fiscal policies. Thanks.
Thank you, Chris. Right now, we move for the end, the takeaway, some killer idea. I start with my friend Fred. Think about for the future in terms of exploration perspective. You could say one key factor, something strong, important for the successful in the future exploration in our South America, especially in Brazil. Please, very quickly, 1 point, 1 factor.
Okay, so you put me in the wall. So if I could say the one single factor that might change completely the future of exploration, not only in South America, but in Brazil, and of course, my boss touched that point already, so I have to say that. And my new boss, right? Yeah, I'm aligned. And it's, in terms of cost, might be the cheapest thing that all the oil and gas and energy industry can invest. Communication.
Communication, very good.
We need to completely change the way we address the need of oil and gas for the world.
Okay.
Cheap investment, big return.
Marina, you.
I would focus, I think it's very important what Fred said, and I would focus on people, right? Because behind technology, behind regulation, behind the companies, we have people. And if we look at the future, we are not seeing a very bright future for our industry, because the kids, they don't want to talk about oil anymore, and that's a lot due to what Fred said, because of the communication, what is the message they are receiving into the future, that the oil is the bad guy and we need to stop this industry right now. And we have just learned a lot through this whole conference that's not the case, and we need people, we need bright people, bold people, and people that want to work in our industry. So we should invest on that, yeah.
Communication, people, Lúcio. You are mentioned, need to have one factor, important factor for the future in exploration.
Given this geophysical conference, I will say OBN for exploration.
Good, 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 good. Right now, you. Eu vou deixar você para o fim, Jorel.
Okay, I think my colleague gave me one word I don't know. It's the most powerful resource we have is not beneath the ground. I think it is a collective intelligence and a cooperation driving how we exploit. I think innovation, that's
Okay. Communication, people, OBN, and cooperation. You. One key factor.
Yeah, I'll probably go with AI, and I think AI goes along with everything that has been said.
Yeah. Jonilton, one factor, one idea, one important for exploration.
I think everybody already said everything. but I can. No, because that I will repeat the same speech that I did in some time before in AGA, that it will be necessary not just one key, but as you have a competition increase concern the energy source, will be necessary this group do the things cheaper, fast, and better. To have
Fast and better. Cheaper, fast and better.
Easier to do. It's easier to do.
Yeah.
This, yeah?
But remember, we are geologists by background.
But I am not finished because you said
One
key,
idea.
I have one idea, but the idea is so big. But with these three things, the knowledge concerning the technician about the processing, acquisition that will be necessary to train, to develop more technology, new technology, and the geological model.
Good.
We will be a very good competitor if you have everything on the same table and everybody that you have in this meeting working with this focus.
Yes,
Not
thank you.
just one point, one key, but a lot of things that will be necessary to do.
I make a little bit of this provocation because I was a little bit uncomfortable with this faster, cheaper, because if you are only faster and cheap, you could kill our industry. You need to be, with geological background, more predictive one. And if you be predictive, one exploratory well with successful, you save a lot of money of the dry wells. It's not a question to be cheaper, it's a question to be very predictive one and discover fields, if possible, middle and big one. The predictive aspect of geological model should be invested a lot to be better in terms of, the bad is okay, in terms of predictability of our geological model to discover something very important. Because if you became cheaper and faster in Equatorial Margin or Pelotas one, you not discover nothing. What means cheaper and faster if you not discover? It's great to be, okay, cheaper and fast, but discover something, it's important, and better, and better.
But it will be necessary to drill a well there. If you have that is not to receive this data faster than you already have. And it was not cheaper than you already have. The competition for the other technology or competition of the energy source, we lose this, and you never drill one well. Just an example of the Equatorial Margin, the Foz do Amazonas Basin. Just Petrobras invest and continue to invest with this project that is not economical for any one other company. If you have the same situation out of Brazil, you didn't do. Then
Okay.
it would be necessary to be cheaper, to give us faster than, and with better quality, because with better quality, we have more
Predictability, accuracy.
and accuracy.
Guys, please put the panel here to end the panel. Only to recap our idea of the panel, because we will move to the end. Yuri, cadê o pessoal aí? Projeta o painel.
Paulo,
Oi.
while they do that, quick and fast comment about being better.
Ok.
I think we who as an industry need to recognize, and that's what Christian said, and of course, my boss, Lucio said, second very good point. AI, we need to recognize that we are at a certain point that the machine is going to be able to see stuff that our eyes are not able to see.
Ok.
And it's not about replacing geologists or geophysicists, it's about making we better.
Ok.
So So I have some time. So
Yeah.
it's not about AI replacing people, but it's people who use AI replacing people who doesn't.
Okay,
think
Anderson.
that's big,
Very good point.
right?
Very good point. Guys, you see here our panel. Thank you very much, Karina Rodrigues. Provocate this guy, very important, very technical aspect, opportunity plays in entire South America, and good relation with Namibia also as important, Guyana area. Of course, in Brazil, Equatorial Margem, Pelotas, Sergipe, Alagoas, we have a lot of offshore in Brazil to push, to have more data, more technology, more FWI, more full azimuth data for our base. Thank you very much. I started here to acknowledge Lu Shun. I don't know if I could pronounce correctly your name. Lu Shun Chao. How you pronounce it, please?
Luo Junchao.
Possible for me. Okay. For BGP Global, Christian is the next one to close. Thank you very much, TGS, to be both support our convention and be with us. We know you are very busy man, but came here, share with yours idea and to invest in Brazil, invest to support our big conference each 2 years you have here. Thank you very much. In public way, I would like to acknowledge you. Lúcio, Brazilian geologist, a friend to us, always help us in ICE, Rio, and SBGF. Thank you very much you came. Jonilton, my friend at Petrobras also, support a lot. Fred, I have only friends here, geologists, and Marina for NEP, regulate, but more than regulate is geologist. You should valorize. It's important, give you a perspective for the future. Jonildo asked a lot of block. She said, I have a lot of block. Petrobras should invest in them. Pay and drilling exploratory wells, no? We learn in school to discover fields, you need drilling wells, no? Drilling exploratory well, need to drill more, no? Guys, thank you very much for everybody here. Thank you. Eu take a picture. A Marina no centro, tem que falar uma foto. Tem algoritmo, as fotos tem algoritmo. A Marina no centro.